morning, everyone. It's Saturday morning, 10 a.m. My name is Michelle, and I'm coming to you live from Milano Meravigli. Hi there, Antonio. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us. Like I said, my name is Michelle, and today we are going to talk about my hometown. Well, not my hometown, but our hometown. Hi, Alice. Welcome. So nice to see you here. When you guys are typing in, please let me know where you're from. I'd love to know if you're from Milan or if you're from another part of Italy. In addition to that, if you have any questions, guys, please feel free to type in, comment, so I can help you out. Okay, so let's get started. My hometown. What is a hometown? Hey, Nicole from Ferrara, nice to meet you. So a hometown is the city, the town where you were born. My hometown is actually in Pakistan, Karachi. It's one of the biggest cities in the world. It has a population of about 20 million people. Hey, Vero, nice to meet you. So it has a population of about 20 million people, which is large because Milan alone only has a population of about 3 million, 3.1 million, if I'm not mistaken. But I haven't been home in a very, very long time. Okay, so let's move on and find out. My hometown. In this focus activity, describing your hometown, present perfect tenses, using for and since. Hey, Christina. Hey, Andrea from Bologna. I love Bologna. The food in Bologna. Wow. You are a lucky man living there. Okay, so let's talk about the two main present perfect tenses. And they are the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous. Now, oftentimes we get a bit confused about the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous. What are the differences? How do we use them? So hopefully I'll be able to answer some of your queries in this focus. Hey, Antonio. Hey, Alice. So the present perfect simple is used in two main instances. Firstly, to talk about your experiences in life. This is the main use of the present perfect simple. We talk about, for example, going to another city. I've been to London 5 times. So if you notice, the construction is subject plus have or has, depending on your subject, because I have and she has, plus past participle, and then you continue on. What's important to notice is that there is no timestamp in the present perfect tenses, which means that you won't say, I've been to London 5 times in 2019. Because the minute you put a timestamp, you put I've been to Pescara for 2 years. Okay, Antonio sent in a lovely sentence. I've been to Pescara for 2 years. Yes, you could technically say that, but what would you like to say? That you've been living in Pescara for 2 years? Or I've been to Pescara 2 years ago? Right? There's a small difference there. Okay, another instance in which we use the present perfect simple is to talk about experiences that started in the past and continue up to the present. For example, I've lived in Milan for 3 years. So it started in the past but continues up to the present. This is where it gets a little confusing with the present perfect continuous, because we also use the present perfect continuous to talk about experiences, situations that have started in the past and continue up to the present. A perfect example would be, I've been living in Pescara for 2 years, right? Um, because it started in the past and continues up to the present. You guys are sending in some fantastic sentences. Good work. Keep it up. I've been to Pescara. I have lived in Ferrara since I was born. Nicole, good job. Perfect. I've lived in Pescara for 2 years. Antonio, brilliant. Alice, I have lived in Milan for 4 years. Fantastic. You guys already know what to do. I love it. Let's move on. I have been living in Florence since I was born, says Christina. Good job, Christina. That's exactly how you would use the present perfect continuous. Okay, so let's read this together. Small town, USA. Anna is from a tiny town in the middle of the United States. She has lived there since she was born. Her town is tranquil and quiet. There is a broad river that runs along the edges of town. And she has been fishing there since she was a child. The library has been there for 50 years and was just renovated last fall. If she could change one thing about her hometown, it would be to add a traffic light. Right now, there is only a stop sign and traffic is always jumbled on Main Street. So this is a little story about Anna from the US. Let's tackle the vocabulary first, right? I know you guys might have a few questions. So please, if you have any vocab-related questions, write to me and I will be more than happy to answer. In the meantime, I will talk about the words I think you might have a problem with. So let's start with tranquil. Tranquil just means peaceful. Moving on, the next word is broad river. So broad is an adjective and it describes the horizontal length, right? So you have the vertical length, which is your height, and then you have the horizontal length, which is your breadth. So something which has a lot of horizontal length is described as broad. So there is a broad river that runs along the edge of town, and she has been fishing there since she was a child. Any other words? Jumbled. The traffic is always jumbled on Main Street. This can be a little bit confusing. Basically, jumbled means messed up, very confusing. So if traffic is jumbled up, it means there is a traffic jam. I hope that answers your question, Christina. I'm sorry, Antonio, I don't know what you mean. It's not the same in Rome. What isn't the same? Oh, the traffic. The traffic is terrible in Rome. Yes, I agree. The traffic in Rome is pretty bad. Okay, so jumbled is when traffic is a mess. There is a traffic jam. There's no space for cars to move. It's very confusing. Any other words, guys? Any other vocab-related questions? Hit me up. You're welcome, Christina. You're so sweet. Okay, move to the next slide. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Find synonyms for. Okay, guys, this is where you come into play. Write to me and tell me what you think the synonyms are. First up, the synonym for small. This one is easy. I'm confident you guys can get this. What is a synonym for small? Alice, Christina, Antonio, I know you guys know this. So I'm going to wait and give you guys a couple of minutes. Fantastic, guys. Everyone got this right on the head. Small means little, tiny. Good job, everyone. Fantastic. Okay, next up, wide. What does wide mean? I know you guys can do this. Fantastic, Alessandro. Wide is broad. Absolutely. Fantastic. Next up, updated. Okay, before we move on to updated, Antonio says wide could also mean large. Yes, it could. But like I said, wide only refers to the horizontal length, not the vertical length. So if something is large, it's usually horizontally and vertically big, right? Because something can be very broad, but very short. So it's not large. Okay, so moving back to updated, I have the answers coming in. And as usual, you guys are right on point. Yes, broad means renovated. Fantastic. I'm loving the energy here on a Saturday morning. Okay, last one. Find a synonym for a mess. Oh, you're welcome, Antonio. I'm so happy. What is the synonym for a mess? You guys are all coming in with the right answer. I love it. Keep it up. Alessandro hit it right on the head. Nicole got it right. Christina got it right. You guys are rock stars. Yes. Jumbled is the synonym for a mess. Fantastic. Okay, find the sentences that use since and for. Okay, Vero. So it's chaos. Okay, so this is how we spell chaos. Yes, a synonym for this is how we spell chaos. A synonym for large is tiny, absolutely. Find the sentences that use since and for. So before we get into that, I would just like to talk about when we use since and when we use for. Well, you guys are coming in with the right answers. I love it. But for everyone else, I am going to go ahead and just explain it, just so you have this information there if you need it. We use for to talk about a period of time. For example, absolutely, Antonio, we use them in the present perfect when we want to talk about a period of time. For example, I have lived in Milan for 3 years. So a block of time, 3 years, 5 months, 2 weeks, whatever it may be. Whereas we use since to talk about the starting point of the activity. When did you start? Antonio says, I am a handsome guy since I was born. Okay, so that's partially right. So we use the present perfect, right, Antonio? So you would say, I have been a handsome guy since I was born, right? Because you want to use have or has, depending on your subject, plus past participle. So, since starting point of the activity, yes, Alessandro, to specify a moment, but the moment the activity started. For example, I have lived in Milan since 2016, since 2015, whatever your starting point is. Okay, so here we have the answer from Andrea and Nicole. There is a broad river that runs along the edge of the town, and she has been fishing there since she was a child. That was from Andrea. Good job. Nicholas says she has lived there since she was born. Perfect. But there is one more since. Absolutely right, Nicola. We use since for a specific time, the starting point of the activity. Brilliant. There's one more since in this little paragraph that no one has found as yet. Anyone want to try? Perfect, Nicole. The library has been there for 50 years. Okay, I have played football for 5 years. Correct use of it. If you guys want to send me in your sentences to make sure you got the construction right, to make sure you're using the right verbs, go ahead. I'm happy to read them out and happy to help. Okay, let's try to move on. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Before I start this, do you guys have any questions? Do you need help with something? Let me know. I'm going to pause for a minute just so you could ask me anything before we move on. Perfect, Alessi. Yes, that is exactly it. Okay, big city, UK. Wes is from a really congested, densely populated city in the UK. It is urban, advanced, and metropolitan with construction and industry everywhere. He blank their blank 6 years. They blank and blank buildings in his neighborhood every year, blank 2008. It is disruptive and noisy. If he could, he would move to a new flat on a charming street. You guys, your sentences have been coming in. Good job. Andrea says, I've been playing the violin since I was 13 years old. Wow, Andrea, that is amazing. The violin is one of the most beautiful instruments out there, in my opinion. Good use of the present perfect continuous. Alessandro, he has lived there for 6 years. Yes, that is the answer. Good. Fantastic. Okay, so let's start. Alessandro says he has lived there for 6 years. And yes, that is the answer. He has lived there for 6 years. The reason we can't say that he has been lived there for 6 years is because when you use the word been, then that would be the present perfect continuous. So he has been living there for 6 years. If you want to use the present perfect continuous. But if you are using the present perfect and the structure is similar to this, then we don't use been, right? So we would say he has lived there. The answers are coming in. Diomira, I hope I got that right. Diomira says 6 years. Good work. Fantastic. Okay, so everyone has gotten these answers right for the first sentence. What about the next one? Let's hear what you have to say, guys. I'm just gonna adjust my seat. Any answers? They dash and dash buildings. Oh, don't worry, Antonio, we're going to do this together. They have demolished, Alessandro says, they have demolished and restructured buildings in his neighborhood. Alice says they have demolished. Okay, good work. They have demolished. That is correct. Andrea says demolish and restructured. Yes, you guys have all got it right. They have demolished and restructured buildings in his neighborhood every dash year. Absolutely have reconstructed. So the reason, how we know that this is going to be the present perfect simple and not the present perfect continuous is because there are only 2 blanks, right? If it was the present perfect continuous, there would be 3 blanks. They have been demolishing and restructuring. Nicole, Diomira, and Christina say since 2008. Absolutely. Nicole, you're right. Since 2008. It is disruptive and noisy. If he could, he would move to a new flat on a charming street. Okay, so let's look at the vocabulary. What does congested mean? Can anyone take a guess? Absolutely, Antonio. We use the present perfect because it's not time specific. We just have a period of time or the starting point of the activity, but we don't have like a specific year or a specific date that this happened. So that's why we use the present perfect, because it is not time specific. It is only period specific. Okay, so what does congested mean? When a place is congested, a city is congested, it means that it is so full. There are so many people, cars, shops even, that there's no place to move. It really restricts your freedom of movement. So that is what congested means in a city. But if you have a cold, you can also be congested. If you are coughing and sneezing, that is what a sneeze is. So if you're coughing or sneezing, or you have a nose which is running, in Italian you would say raffreddore. If you have a cold, you could also be congested. So basically, when you have a cold and you're congested, it means that your chest cavity is full of liquid, which you need to take out of your body. So just remember, there are 2 different ways you can use the word congested. You can even turn it into a noun. For example, I have a congestion, which is, again, the reference to when your chest cavity fills up with liquid. Okay, moving on. Antonio says crowded. Alessandro says jammed. Alessi says congested, full of people. You guys are all right on the mark. Okay, densely populated. It refers to a small area having lots and lots of people. Construction and in. It is urban, advanced, and metropolitan. So urban just basically means a city. Advanced, we all know what advanced means. And metropolitan. Metropolitan refers to a big city. Any other question, guys? Charming. Charming is something that is beautiful and attractive. Something that's very appealing. Okay, if you have any questions, I'm going to move on now. But if you have any questions, please ask me. Disruptive. Okay, Nicolo says disruptive. Disruptive is when someone or something or a situation is causing so much noise or causing so much of a problem that it interrupts your work. Whatever you're doing, whether it's personal or professional, you can't complete it because you're being interrupted all the time. Over here, the focus is obviously the noise from the construction side. So the noise from the construction side interrupts him and he is unable to do anything. So it is disruptive, which is an adjective, but you can also say that you can also use it as a noun if you use the word disruption, a disruption. Okay, moving on. Any other questions? Ooh. Sorry, just give me a minute. Okay, find a conditional sentence. So I'm going to wait for you guys. You're welcome. I hope that helps. Find a conditional sentence. Who can do that for me? Okay, Loredana, the first one to get it right. Alessandro following up. Okay, so I'm not going to give the answer away. I'm going to wait to see how many of you can guess it. But I think you guys can guess this. Nicole, yes. Antonio, yes. They're all right. Andrea, just writing one word like a boss. Okay, that's right. If he could, he would move to a new flat on a charming, quiet street. Perfect. Okay, so bonus round. What conditional is this? Is this the first conditional, the second conditional, or the third conditional? Antonio and Nicole are right. Yes. Good job, guys. Anyone else? Alessandro, absolutely. Antonio, you are right. Yes, this is the second conditional. Good job, Loredana. Okay, so another question. You guys are so good. I have to make the questions harder. Okay, can anyone tell me how you construct the second conditional? Ooh, that's a little tough. I know. How do you construct the second conditional? Okay, so the construction for the second conditional is if plus past simple. In this situation, the past simple is could because it is the past tense of the word can. He could plus would. Nicole has hit it right on the head. So if plus past simple, comma, plus would, plus infinitive. Fantastic. Okay, what are two synonyms for crowded? I have the answers coming in already. You guys are on a roll, on fire today. Christina says densely and densely populated. So does Antonio. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, what are two antonyms for calm and quiet? So the antonyms are, as we know, opposites. So what is the opposite of calm and quiet? Don't worry, Antonio, you're doing well. Hi, Patrizia, nice to meet you. Two antonyms for calm and quiet. Guys, if you want to write to me and you want me to give you a shout out, go for it. Alice says noisy. Yes, that is noisy. Nicole says loud. Yes, loud is definitely an antonym. But let's try to find one in the text. So calm and quiet, the opposite. So they are disruptive and noisy. Good job, Antonio Diomida. Fantastic. Any questions before I move on? Alicia says disruptive. Nicolo says noisy. Vero says disruptive. Good job, guys. Okay, so these questions are for you. So please write to me and tell me what your story is. Where is your hometown? How has your hometown changed over the years? Has it changed for the better or worse? What is the best thing about your hometown and what is the worst thing? So guys, write in, tell me your story. Where is your hometown? I'll tell you my story in the meanwhile. My hometown is in Karachi. How has your hometown changed over the years? Well, it has gotten more developed, definitely. Far more cars on the road. I think it has changed a little bit for the better, a little bit for the worse. Better because there's so much infrastructure and development, and there's so many options available. Worse because of pollution. I think that's a problem we all face now. It doesn't matter where you're living. Pollution is unfortunately just part of existing in the 21st century. Okay, what is the best thing about your hometown, the worst thing? The best thing, the sea. So if anyone out here was born next to the sea, you guys know what I'm talking about. When you leave your town, your city, and you don't move to a place that's next to the sea, it's a bit suffocating. I think that is definitely one of the best things, that the sea was only 15 minutes away. The worst thing, definitely, again, the pollution and the traffic. Traffic, I've never seen traffic that bad in my entire life. And I have lived in a number of cities. I think the traffic in Karachi is despicable, horrible. But that's my story. Write to me and tell me, where is your hometown? How has it changed? What is the best thing? What is the worst thing? So I'm going to give you a minute. If you want to write and tell me, I'd love to read your story out. If not, don't worry, that's fine. I completely understand. We can just move on to the next slide. Okay, moving on. If you feel like you want to write your story in anyways and tell me about yourself, and if it comes in later, that's okay. Don't worry about it. So let's talk about some phrases which are not very commonly heard. First up, the boondocks. The boondocks are. How would you describe the boondocks? Basically, any area in your country, in your city, is very rural, but also very remote, meaning it's very hard to access. It's isolated. It doesn't have any infra. It's rough. So that would be describe boondocks. Okay, in the sticks. So I'm going to read. Oh, I have your answers coming in. Yay! Nicola says, Ferrara is a small town near Bologna and it's the city of. For me, the best thing is the cast, and the worst thing is that there isn't much to do. I've been to Ferrara. It's absolutely lovely. And yes, I know what you mean about the bicycle. It really inspired me to want to ride a bicycle myself. But I live in Milan, so no. The castle. He says he's from Salerno, and they understand what I mean about the sea. Thank you so much. Okay, so back to this. In the sticks, downtown, suburbs, outskirts, street smart, or street wise. Residential areas outside the city, very rural in the country, the edge of the city, able to deal with problems of urban life, the city center. Okay, so first up, in the sticks. I'm sorry, Antonio. There's something I said that you didn't understand. If you could just let me know what it is, and I'll repeat myself. So, what do you guys think in the stick means? The phrase in the sticks. Don't be shy about being wrong, guys. Yes, very good. Alessandro says very rural. Very rural. Correct. If you describe a place in as being it is some place that is very rural in the country, similar to boondocks. Next up, downtown. Hi, Margarita. Nice to meet you. Her hometown is Benevento in Campania. It's a small historical town, maybe a little bit boring, but very beautiful. Campania is so beautiful. I'm sure your town is breathtaking. Patricia says, hometown, downtown. Downtown is the city center. Absolutely. So downtown refers to the city center, in the center of the city, and not just the commercial center, but of course, but not just the city center, but the commercial center, where it does not just, sorry, your comments are coming in, so I just want to be on top of it. So yeah, the commercial center. Next up, the suburbs. So some of you have answered suburbs as the edge of the city. Yes, Patricia, you are right. The edge is the border. So, unfortunately, suburbs does not refer to the edge of the city. Don't worry, this is a common problem because suburbs is very often confused with outskirts because they're very similar. Antonio says suburbs are the residential areas outside the city. Absolutely. Suburbs are the residential areas outside the city. And the difference between suburbs and outskirts. Outskirts, I'm going to do this for you. Outskirts is the edge of the city. Hi, Tato. Unfortunately, suburbs isn't really classified as a district because a district is something that is officially classified. A suburb is more of a description because it will be within a differently named district. The district will not be called suburb, right? Okay, so the difference between suburb and outskirts. Suburbs is residential, is the residential area outside the city, whereas outskirts is the area around the edge of the city, which is not very developed. It's a bit remote. It's not the safest. Okay, so that's the difference between suburbs and outskirts. Suburbs is usually very developed. You usually have some shops there, very residential. Families live there. It's very safe. Whereas the outskirts would be considered dangerous for children, not the best place to grow up. It's a bit rougher. Okay, you're welcome, Tato. Okay, street smart and streetwise. There's just one answer left, right? So, streets. Yes, I know you're joking, Antonio. I'm glad that we have the same sense of humor. Okay, so street smart or streets wise is when you are correct, Christina. When you are able to deal with the problems of urban life. So, someone who's street smart, it's very hard to make a fool out of them. Like for someone to steal their money in a way, for example, if someone cons them. Do you guys know what a con artist is? Just one sec. Sorry. Okay. Oh, I'm so happy you know the difference now, Alessandra. Okay, so a con artist. You guys know what a con artist is, or who a con artist? Artist is someone who steals, because it's not someone who steals someone's money, but in a way, outskirts like the Bronx. So someone who steals the people's money by fooling them. For example, a very common con is the Nigerian prince. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. The Nigerian prince who writes to people and tells them, JLo is not a con artist. She's an icon. It's a little different, guys. A little bit. Okay, so a con artist is someone who will the Nigerian prince who writes you a letter and says, I have $100 million. All I need is your account number to put this money in, because I have some dangerous people after me. But then what happens is that you give him your account details, and he wipes your account clean. He takes away all your money. So someone who is street smart, con artist, there you go, Alessandro. So someone who is street smart will be able to identify such a person and will not be fooled. The opposite of street smart is book smart. The opposite of street smart is book smart, and someone who is book smart is academically considered to be academically smart. So they perform really well in school, in tests, in exams, things like that. Okay, this was a long little talk. Any questions? Anything you did not understand? Okay, how would you describe your hometown? Let's move on from that because we've covered that. Let's move on to number 2. What are the advantages to living in the sticks or in the suburbs? In my opinion, the number one advantage would be lack of pollution. The air would be clean, it would be so fresh, it would be very healthy. I think it would be in the suburbs, it would be safer. What do you guys think? Where do you live? Do you live in the suburbs? Do you live downtown? Do you live in the countryside? Antonio, I agree with you. JLo is one of a kind. Transportation. Antonio says there might be a problem with transportation. I agree. I think that transportation could be a problem because if you live in the city, you have access to public transportation, which is usually quite good. Tato says he lives in a suburb of Bologna. How do you like that, Tato? What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? Patricia says, in my opinion, in the city, we can have all services, but the pollution kills us. Yeah, I'm with you, girl. Yeah, I'm like that too. I love the services, but I do not like the pollution. Christina lives downtown. I live downtown as well, Christina. Alicia says the suburbs aren't noisy. That's true. It's very peaceful. You know, when you wake up, all you can hear are the birds, and you don't have to hear the you don't have to hear the traffic. Antonio says the benefit of the suburbs is that there's no coronavirus. I think the coronavirus is pretty much everywhere now. So you just got to pray and wash your hands. A little bit of luck, a little bit of common sense, and I think we'll be okay. Oh, that is a good one. Alessi says they live in the suburbs of Salerno, and the advantage is that you always find parking. True, true. Tata says it's easily connected by buses with the center of the city. True, public transportation and accessibility are so important. Okay, let's move on. Can you be street smart if you don't live in the city? I don't think it's possible. I think you definitely need to live in the city to be a little street smart because you learn that through experience. And if you haven't had that experience, it's hard to develop that skill. Margarita says the advantages to living in the sticks are quiet, good air, no stress. Nicolo says that she lives in the suburbs, the air is cleaner, and there isn't much noise. Okay, our town. Okay, so let's wrap this up and let's talk about our town. What are 3 adjectives to describe your hometown? How would you describe your hometown? I would describe my hometown as Enormous. So enormous is a good word. Sorry. Just trying to move it over here. Perfect. Okay. So enormous is a good word. It basically means large, but it's a better adjective than large. And because you guys are at a higher level, I would like to see more from it. So let's try to avoid using words like large, okay? Because we are better than that. We can do more. Okay, Tasha says medium size. Another way to say medium sized is average sized. Alice, nice, says tiny. I'm just going to put this up on the screen. She says tiny. Tiny, historical, and solar. Okay, what do you mean by solar? I would say sunny. Okay. So tiny, sunny, and historical. Antonio says awesome, glorious, marvelous. Okay, Antonio, to be fair, those are all synonyms. So you need to tell me more. Christina says small, old, and full of art. Wow. So you could say cultural, Christina. So your hometown is small, it's old, and cultural. Overo says very little, nice, empty. Patrizia, a city of business. Okay, so you wouldn't say fashion, we would say fashionable because you want to turn that into an adjective. Okay, so we would say fashionable and crowded. Nicole says her hometown is, or their hometown rather, is historical, small, and quiet. Lovely. Okay, so what would people enjoy the most about your hometown? I think people would enjoy, well, the sea, but the food in my hometown because we do food really well. The best thing to eat in my town is, I'm sorry for the vegetarians and the vegans out there, I apologize in advance, but my hometown is known for meat. Oh, so good. You can find barbecue at any time of the day, everywhere. Like it's crazy. So good. Antonio says cultural famous. Okay, those are good, yes. But what would people enjoy the most about your hometown? I bet for Christina it would be the art, or Christine would be the art because she says her hometown is full of beautiful art. Alessandro is from Rome, monuments and colors of Rome. Absolutely. I think one of my favorite things in Rome, obviously, is the mixture of the old and the new, because I feel it's done so beautifully. So people love the monuments and colors of Rome. What do people like about Bologna, Salerno, Firenze, Ferrara? Let me know, guys. What changes have there been? Okay, so I'll just tell you about the changes. Antonio said he's not keen on food. He prefers running and doing sport. Well, I'm actually keen on both. I love food. I love working out. I think life is all about that balance. You know, you got a little bit of this, a little bit of that to find the perfect sweet spot. Tatao says a big traffic. Okay, so there's a lot of traffic. So that's what they would like the least. Patricia says the fashionable shops and the food. Margarita, the culture, the monuments, the nature, and the food. Lovely, lovely. Okay, so what about the least? What is your least favorite thing about your city? Or what do you think people would not like about your city? So, if you could change one thing about your hometown, what would it be? I think I would like less traffic. If I could change one thing, it would be definitely reduce the amount of traffic. Okay, Alessandro and I have the same opinion. Yes, hate the pollution and traffic. Oh, the least every. Okay, Margarita says that the main problem is that everyone knows each other. So there's too much community. Everybody is up in each other's business. Antonio, when I say least, I mean what would they like? What would they dislike the most? What would they enjoy the most? And the opposite of most is least. So, what would they enjoy the most? And what would they enjoy the least? Most, least. Nicolay says, I think people would enjoy the castle, the dome, and the walls around the city. Vero says the nightlife. All right. If Alessi says, if I could change one thing, it would be the public transport. Alicia says, in my hometown, there isn't any public transport. Wow, that must be difficult. Okay, last question. Um, how will your hometown change in 5 years? You're welcome, Antonio. How do you think your hometown will change in 5 years? I think there will be more development, but that means more pollution. So Nicola says, I would like more parking areas. I like you, Nicola. You're very practical. Yes, more parking would be fantastic. Anyone else? Okay, guys. Unfortunately, time is up. Time always runs by so fast when you're having a good time. If you have any questions, anything you didn't understand, please write to me. Unfortunately, I have to wrap up now. My time's up. But I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to write in your questions, write in your queries, any concerns you might have, any feedback you'd like to give us, and we'll get back to you. In the meantime, let's just do a quick wrap up, a quick revision of everything we've discussed, everything we've spoken about. Okay, so let's do this. Patrizia says pollution. Nicola says parking is a mission in Ferrara. Alessandro says, I hope it'll change better. Antonio says transportation. It is a pity indeed. Okay, so let's just quickly do a revision, a final summary. When do we use the present perfect? Simple for experiences, for things that started in the past and continue up to the present. We also use the present perfect continuous for things that started in the past and continue up to the present. Absolutely. And the main difference is present perfect simple focuses on the result. For example, I have lived in Milan for 10 years, and present simple continuous focuses on the action. I have been living in Milan for 10 years. Okay, with that, my time is up, guys. It was so lovely to meet all of you. Thank you for joining in on this beautiful sunny Saturday morning. Hopefully, I'll see you guys next time as well. Have a beautiful weekend. Stay safe. Practice common sense. Wash your hands. Use some sanitizer. Don't touch your face. And hopefully, I will catch you guys next time. Bye, all. Thank you for joining in, and thank you for interacting. It was so much fun. Goodbye.